In the heart of Old England, where mist-shrouded moors and dense, shadowy forests stretched endlessly, lay the forgotten village of Ravenshore. This village, nestled between the haunted Wychwood and the windswept cliffs of the Blackstone Coast, was known for its eerie silence, broken only by the cawing of ravens that circled above like ominous sentinels. Tales of the supernatural had always surrounded Ravenshore, but none were more tragic or haunting than the legend of Anid, the Ghost of Ravenshore. Generations ago, before the rise of grand cities and the fall of ancient castles, Ravenshore was a prosperous settlement. The villagers worshipped at St. Ulred's Church, an ancient stone structure that stood defiantly against time, its spire visible from every corner of the village. Life in Ravenshore was simple, but whispers of old curses, mysterious disappearances, and restless spirits were as common as the fog that rolled in from the moors each night. Among these whispers, the tale of Anid stood out. It was said that Anid's spirit could be seen wandering the old pathways near Wychwood, her white dress trailing through the mist, her sorrowful eyes forever searching. Once, she was a young woman of unmatched beauty and joy, but now she was a ghost bound to the land by betrayal, love, and the unbreakable chains of heartache. Anid was born to humble beginnings, the daughter of a miller who worked tirelessly at the old watermill by the river Wychwood. With hair as dark as a raven's wing and eyes as bright as the summer sky, Anid was the pride of Ravenshore. She was kind, generous, and filled with a light that brightened even the darkest days. As Anid grew, so did the number of young men vying for her attention. But her heart belonged to only one, Cedric, the son of a noble family who lived in the imposing Greyston Manor at the edge of the village. Cedric was handsome, with striking green eyes and a confident smile, but his life of privilege kept him apart from the simple folk of Ravenshore. Despite their different worlds, Anid and Cedric found solace in each other's company, meeting secretly by the old yew tree that marked the boundary between the village and the wild, untamed moorland. Their love was a secret, born of moonlit rendezvous and stolen moments. They spoke of dreams, of escaping the constraints of their lives and starting anew. But Cedric's family had different plans. They intended for him to marry a wealthy heiress, uniting two powerful families and securing their place in the world of nobility. One fateful evening, as the sun dipped below the horizon, Cedric made a promise to Anid. They would run away together, leave behind the expectations of society, and carve out a life of their own. But as Anid waited by the yew tree, the minutes turned into hours, and the night grew cold. Cedric never came. Distraught and heartbroken, Anid wandered through Ravenshore, her mind clouded with doubt and despair. She believed Cedric had abandoned her, his promises as fleeting as the morning mist. Unable to bear the weight of her sorrow, she ventured deeper into Wychwood, a forest long feared by the villagers for its dark, enchanted reputation. It was said that Wychwood was a place where the veil between the living and the dead was thin, where ancient spirits lingered and shadows whispered of secrets best left forgotten. Anid stumbled upon a crumbling stone circle, overgrown with ivy and hidden from the world. In the center stood an old hag, cloaked in tattered robes, her face wrinkled and eyes glowing with an unnatural light. This was Morgaine, the Witch of Wychwood, a figure of legend feared by all who knew her name. Morgaine was said to hold power over the unseen, to command the spirits of the forest and bend the will of the fates. Desperate for answers, Anid approached Morgaine, pleading for the truth of Cedric's absence. Morgaine, seeing the desperation in Anid's eyes, offered her a glimpse into the future. She brewed a potion from the roots and herbs that grew in the cursed soil of Wychwood, a potion that would reveal the truth of Cedric's heart. Anid drank deeply, her vision clouding as the potion took hold. What she saw shattered her. Cedric, her beloved, was celebrating his engagement to the heiress, their families laughing and toasting to a future filled with wealth and power. He had never intended to leave, his words had been nothing more than empty promises, a cruel game played with her heart. Anid's world crumbled, her spirit breaking under the weight of betrayal. The potion's magic bound her to the stone circle, her soul trapped between life and death. Anid's body collapsed, her heart unable to bear the pain, but her spirit remained, tied to the land of the living by her unfulfilled love and sorrow. Morgaine, watching from the shadows, muttered a curse, binding Anid to the forest forever. Anid was no longer a living girl, but a ghost, doomed to wander the pathways of Wychwood and Ravenshore, searching for the love that had betrayed her. As the years passed, tales of Anid's ghost spread far and wide. Villagers spoke of seeing her pale figure drifting through the woods, her eyes empty and filled with endless grief. Children were warned not to wander near Wychwood, lest they encounter the weeping bride, whose touch was said to steal away the joy of the living. One night, a band of travelers passing through Ravenshore decided to test the legend. Among them was a young bard named Rowan, eager to capture the tale of the ghostly bride in song. Rowan was bold and curious, driven by a thirst for adventure and the desire to prove that even the darkest legends could be conquered by the light of courage. Rowan ventured into Wychwood at dusk, following the faint glow of his lantern through the tangled trees. The forest was silent, save for the rustling of leaves and the distant hoot of an owl. As he approached the stone circle, a cold wind swept through the clearing, and there she was, Anid, her form translucent, her expression forlorn. "Who are you?" Rowan called out, his voice echoing in the stillness. Anid turned, her ghostly figure shimmering in the moonlight. For a moment, Rowan saw not a terrifying spirit, but a young woman lost in time, trapped by the pain of unfulfilled love. He sang softly, a ballad of love and loss, hoping to soothe the restless ghost. But as his song filled the air, Anid's sorrow turned to rage. Her form twisted, and the peaceful maiden became a tormented spectre, her eyes glowing with the fury of betrayal. Rowan fled, his heart pounding, the haunting wail of the ghost echoing in his ears. He returned to the village, shaken and humbled, understanding now that Anid's pain could not be silenced by mere words or songs. The Ghost of Ravenshore was not a monster to be defeated, but a soul longing for peace. Years later, a priestess named Seraphine arrived in Ravenshore. Seraphine was known across the land as a healer of lost souls, a woman blessed with the ability to commune with spirits and ease their suffering. She had heard of Anid's plight and felt compelled to help, driven by a deep compassion for those trapped between worlds. Seraphine ventured into Wychwood, carrying with her a silver bell blessed by the priests of Glastonbury Abbey, a relic known to break curses and cleanse dark magic. She approached the stone circle, unafraid, and called out to Anid's spirit. Anid of Ravenshore, Seraphine spoke, her voice calm and soothing. "I am here to help you find peace." Anid's ghost appeared, her form flickering between sadness and anger. Seraphine knelt at the edge of the circle, lighting a candle and placing it before her. She recited ancient prayers, her words weaving a tapestry of light that began to envelop the clearing. As the light touched Anid, her ghostly form began to shift, the torment in her eyes softening. But the curse that bound Anid was strong, forged in betrayal and dark magic. The winds picked up, swirling around the stone circle, and the shadows of Wychwood seemed to close in. Morgaine's curse was fighting back, refusing to let go of the spirit it had claimed. Seraphine rang the silver bell, its clear, pure tone cutting through the chaos. The sound resonated through the forest, a beacon of hope that pierced the darkness. Anid cried out, her voice filled with both pain and relief, as the curse began to unravel. The light of the candle grew brighter, dispelling the shadows, and for the first time in centuries, Anid felt the heavy chains of sorrow lifting from her soul. With one final chime of the bell, Anid's ghost dissolved into a gentle mist, her spirit freed at last. The stone circle, once a place of despair, now glowed with a soft, warm light. Seraphine whispered a final prayer, thanking the spirits for their mercy, and turned to leave the forest, knowing that Anid's soul was finally at rest. The villagers of Ravenshore felt a change in the air. The oppressive weight that had hung over the village for so long had lifted, replaced by a sense of calm and renewal. The tales of the weeping bride slowly faded into memory, and children once again played near the edge of Wychwood, unafraid of the spirits that lurked within. Seraphine's act of compassion became a legend in its own right, her name spoken with reverence by those who had once feared the forest's curse. The stone circle, now a place of pilgrimage, was visited by those seeking solace, a reminder that even the deepest wounds could be healed. As for Anid, her story was no longer one of tragedy, but of redemption. She became a symbol of unbroken love, a spirit whose pain was transformed into peace. Ravenshore honored her memory each year with a festival, where lanterns were lit and set adrift on the river Wyvern, their soft glow illuminating the night in tribute to the girl who had found her way home. Anid's legacy lingered in the shadows of Ravenshore, a constant reminder of a love that defied death, but could never find peace. The villagers, though relieved that the haunting wails had ceased, could never forget the tragic figure of the weeping bride. The stone circle, once a site of dark magic, became a place of quiet mourning, where the villagers left flowers and tokens, hoping to appease the restless spirit. Despite Seraphine's attempts, Anid's spirit was never truly freed. Though her form had faded from the forest, her essence remained bound to Wychwood, a faint whisper in the wind, a fleeting shadow at dusk. Some claim to still see her, wandering near the yew tree where she had once waited in vain for her beloved. Her presence was no longer menacing, but melancholy, a ghostly reminder of promises broken and dreams unfulfilled. Ravenshore continued to thrive, but the old tales never truly died. The festival honoring Anid became less a celebration and more a somber vigil, the villagers lighting candles not in hope, but in sorrow. They knew that the weeping bride was still among them, unseen but never far away. The lantern set adrift on the river Wyvern flickered and sank into the dark waters, just as Anid's hopes had drowned so many years ago. Seraphine, despite her many successes elsewhere, was haunted by her failure to truly free Anid. She left Ravenshore with a heavy heart, her silver bell silent at her side. The story of Anid followed her, a constant reminder that not all souls could be saved. She traveled the lands, helping others, but every night she would dream of a pale figure in the mist, eyes filled with endless sorrow. The legend of Anid, the ghost of Ravenshore, became a cautionary tale whispered by firesides and sung in mournful ballads. It was a story of love lost and betrayal that cut too deep to heal, of a spirit forever trapped between worlds. Anid's ghost was no longer seen, but her sadness permeated the very air of Ravenshore, a lingering sadness that no amount of light could dispel. In the end, Anid's story was not one of redemption, but of eternal longing. She would forever wander the paths of Wychwood, bound not by a curse of magic, but by the unbroken chains of a heart that refused to forget. The villagers would say that on quiet nights, if you listened closely, you could still hear the faint, mournful cry of the weeping bride, searching endlessly for a love that was never meant to be. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe to the channel to always stay with us. Take care of yourself and your loved ones. And remember your history. Who knows what might be a legend and what not?